out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Hello, Tim. Hello.
Hello, Ryan.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
There's not that much of a delay. This is our first time, everyone, recording remotely per a social distancing quarantine ordinance. So sorry to not be in our studio today with you, Tim.
Oh, that's quite all right. I'm all about, keeping lots of distance between me and humans.
In general?
Yep. It's like at the grocery store, I think one of the things that makes me the most upset is when you're in line at any time for, to check out, and the person behind you decides to stand 2 inches away. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, why do you need to be close?
Are you talking about in general still?
I'm just talking in general.
Yeah.
So
I know.
I'm down with my little personal bubble.
Well, thank you for all these first 83 episodes welcoming me into your personal bubble.
You're so welcome. Except right now.
Except right now. I said hello to Tim. I still got to say hi to you folks listening. Hello, welcome. Welcome to episode 84 of Dismembering Horror. Hey, 84. Dismembering Horror, the podcast where myself, Ryan McDuffie, and
myself, Tim Aslin,
we dismember a horror film every week. Come rain or shine or viral outbreak, we're here for you. And this is this show where we talk about what worked, what did not work, and anything else we found interesting or noteworthy about a horror film.
Yep, that's what we do.
Yeah, we're always on the search for what may have eluded us before, hoping to see what's good, what's kind of good, everything in between. Just want to see it.
See it.
And I think Tim will do, having done some research now on this week's film, Tourist Trap, that I'm sure I put this on the list because, not to skip ahead, but on things of note, this is one of Stephen King's favorite horror films.
Okay. I could see that.
Yeah, exactly. Fun guy. Old Steve.
Yep.
Stevie King.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so I can't see, Tim, our board with what's next. What's first?
Oh my God. Are you going to be able to handle it?
No.
After 84 episodes, or 83 episodes, you can't remember the order?
Let's see. After we do our intros, then I believe we watch the trailer.
You got it.
Okay, great. Well, let's do that. Okay. Let's find ourselves the trailer for Tourist Trap.
Every year, hundreds of young people travel the country and disappear. God help those who get caught in the tourist trap. Tourist trap, where beautiful young people looking for excitement are tricked, terrorized, trapped. Let go!
Tim, so seeing your you shaking your head and your laughing face on the Skype via Skype, that's what was missing from me having to watch this separate. I think.
Oh my God.
To lead into our next is our rating, I believe.
Yep.
Would we tell ourselves to avoid it, stream it, rent it, or buy it? Well, I was kind of leading into it, Tim, with what I was saying. Like, this is kind of one of those movies where the best parts about it would be getting to watch it with other people.
Yeah,
it's like
I definitely agree with that.
So like, it's just so it was hard watching this movie and just being like, man, just Tim being aghast and WTFing throughout this whole thing is what I'm really missing here.
There was a lot of it. I watched a good portion of this movie standing up in front of the TV.
Just cause?
Just
what do you
kind
mean?
of like in like just like incomprehensible disbelief of like what was going on.
What am I watching here? Hold
Yes.
on.
Yeah. I just like kept throwing my hands up like what? Like what is happening?
See, I wouldn't be surprised if we had watched it that way. Like this movie could have worked up like almost to a Rent for me. I think now it's just kind of like at a standard stream. There are times when I was watching it when I'm just alone watching it where I was like, oh, this barely even makes a stream for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of rides that line of where it's just so bad or hokey or what is even happening. You know, it's incredible, but but then also just being kind of boring, not a lot's happening. It's like kind of a middle ground between those two.
Yeah, it plods along in a not super pleasant way. So I think that to me, in spite of a lot of just, I mean, I will say there's a lot of fun and funny moments, but like, yeah, the plotting of that to get to those moments is a little like tiresome. So yeah, it's a stream for me too.
All right, stream it and stream it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about Tim, the summary? What did happen in Tourist Trap?
Oh God. Okay. Well, what didn't happen? So we've got who do we start with? Elaine is on the side of the road, and her boyfriend Woody I guess they blew a tire, and Woody has like gone into town or gone down the road to find, you know, a service station or something with the spare tire that has no air in it because he's a idiot and forgot to refill the spare tire or whatever. So, which, having said that, I've definitely done that. So, you know, it's a thing that happens. It's probably the most realistic thing in this entire movie. And so she's chilling out, and her other friends, not unlike Demon Wind, are behind her. Like, they drive up in their own car. And that is, let's see, Becky, Jerry, and Molly. And they're like, oh shit, what happened? Where's Woody? What's up? And they're all just chill. They're all super 70s, like, sexy. And they decide to, since now they have a car that works, they pick Eileen up, they go in, and they look for Woody. And they end up at a tourist trap, assuming that that's where he's gone.
This can't be this much of a play-by-play, Tim. We're gonna...
Okay. So, well, I gotta set it up. So, at the tourist trap, they decide to go skinny dipping, which is great almost. Because
we also had a full kill come into this so far.
Oh, right. So, yeah. So we see Woody get to the gas station, and I don't know. Nobody's there except some mannequins attack him, and then just the room turns into supernatural room, and like complete chaos happens. So supernatural stuff exists.
Like objects flying around.
Yeah, he gets killed with a pipe. A fucking like lead pipe hits him in the side of the gut, and then
first 5 minutes.
Yeah, and blood pours out of it, which is exactly what should have happened. And so that's great. Yeah, so Woody's dead, and he's like attacked by these sort of mannequin-y things. It's pretty nutso. Okay, so meanwhile, the girls and Jerry's car breaks down. He tries to fix it. The girls go to a little oasis to skinny dip. And then the main character, sort of, so to speak, Mr. Slauson, shows up, and he hates highways. He's really against highways. He says about 50 times in one scene, if it weren't for the highway, my tourist trap would be great.
Well, and his tourist trap is both the mannequin place that we'll come to know well, but
it's
then also
very
where
like Disneyland sort of animatronic-y thing going
by
on.
way of like a kind of Confederate glaze over the whole thing. But where he finds them initially, part of his tourist trap is Slausen's Lost Oasis.
Yeah.
Which now has a closed to the public sign, but it's like a little, waterfall pool.
Yeah. And I'm shocked that we saw no boobs, but I guess it wasn't that they didn't get that rating or something, because this movie seems like prime for boobs.
I watched the Joe Bob Briggs version after, this one.
Yeah.
After the regular one with his commentary, he was pretty upset about that. And he was really aghast. He's like, the filmmaker's a Texan too. I can't believe it. He let me down.
Wow. Okay, so all of that is set up to say that the rest of the movie is just them kind of getting picked off by, or at least like terrorized by...
Picked off or captured.
Right, by a costumed kind of character. It's like a guy wearing a mannequin's face and a wig. And
comes in different forms.
Yeah, and we're led to believe that he's the brother of Mr. Slausen. And there's other shit that goes on, like Slausen's got a dead wife that he kind of has immortalized in mannequin form. And it's very back and forth, because there's this mannequin actual being who's capturing people and then killing them. And we meet one of the captors that's not the people we've already met. He's already got a young girl down there tied up. And I guess he's making them into mannequins. It's very sort of, it's not super directly or explicitly explained. So all in all, Molly seems to kind of be the object of both Mr. Slausen and this, masked brother, so to speak. And then twist, there is no fucking brother, it's Mr. Slausen. So, nobody's surprised by this.
As you would say, Tim, shocking.
Just utterly shocking. And then it's a kind of a, gotta get away from the bad guy for a little bit.
Very Texas Chainsaw Massacre of when they're all tied up in the basement together and he's giving her the live waxing.
Right, exactly. And then there's very much the sort of run through the woods and get caught and brought back and all that shit. Ultimately, there's also this sort of supernatural element of things can either be moved because Mr. Slausen has some sort of telekinetic power. That's kind of what I thought might be going on. Or it's all just in Molly's head. And she's fucking gone nuts. It's a little vague. And then the movie, and then she kills Slausen in the end and drives away an insane person.
Because she has all her friends in the form of dummies in her car with her.
Yeah, and freeze frame.
And freeze frame. Thank you for that, Tim.
Yeah.
For anyone who didn't see the film.
It's borderline incomprehensible.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, because it's without getting into criticizing it, it's hard to know what the fuck's going on in any way.
Yep.
There are threads.
Yeah, we get the backstory of, he caught his brother and his wife together, and he thought, because he says it's the law that a man has a right to kill his wife in that circumstance, basically.
I guess it's the law. If it's the law... you got to do it.
Yep.
I had a thought, though, and I couldn't really remember if this was possible, but or said in any way. But is it possible that Slausen? So he's a blonde guy. He's
Chuck Connors.
He's great. He's really great. So this is just to speculate before we get into the what worked and what didn't work. Is it possible that Slausen, the guy who's alive, is actually the brother, and he was never married to the woman, that he killed his own brother because of jealousy, not the other way around? Or I guess it doesn't really matter.
Oh, that he is actually the brother he's referring to?
Yes. I guess that's irrelevant. That's a little too like double backward.
I wouldn't put it on this movie to go that far with it.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We get those pictures where it's like him and his brother, and like the way where he talks about, oh, my brother was a genius. He built all these things, real mechanical genius.
Well, it just made me think that there's that whole thing of like, in a way, I kind of thought maybe he's a little like he's had a psychotic break and he's kind of split personalitying this, where like when he's got the mask on, he believes he is the brother, and when he doesn't, he believes he is Slauson.
I mean, who knows exactly how he's doing it? He's definitely imitating a lot of people.
Right. Anyway, there's the line of, my brother was always jealous of me because I'm more handsome or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then in the pictures, I mean, this is just me. It's just my personal opinion. You know, it's all very subjective. Beauty is definitely subjective. My dad used to say, de gustibus non est disputatum. You can't argue taste. I think the brother's better looking.
Ooh.
I know it's controversial, but he has a fucking sweet mustache.
Based on that picture that we saw of him.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. I don't remember the brother's name, Davey or something like that.
Well, either way,
I'm team brother.
I appreciate the level of detail this film is being examined and scrutinized and thought about. I should say not just the film, but the story within it the characters within it.
There's nuance galore in this movie.
Well, then let's continue on.
All right.
And talk about some nuance that worked for us. How about that?
I'm into it.
All right. First section. What worked?
What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked? What worked for you?
So an overall thing I appreciated about this was it had all the. It was like a precursor. It was even though it had a release date of 79, it was like an 80s slasher movie, you know, in just kind of everything about it. But it still had the 70s aesthetics whether it be their outfits, the kind of music at the early scenes when it's like everything's great and that had like a super 70s vibe to it. Anyway, it was just fun having that kind of, dare I say, like best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Where it's hard to say best when anything that was great about this movie is like just kind of, it's the fact that it's schlocky and terrible is what makes it good. And also, I do want to mention that as an overall thing for this, what worked. I said this probably with Demon Wind, but when you have a movie where it's like the sort of just that watching it with your friends, being aghast at it is what's fun about it.
Oh, yeah.
What may typically be and what did not work actually worked, because that's what makes it fun. This kind of movie.
Definitely. Like I even sort of like took a break halfway through watching it because I was like, I'll get back to it. You know what I mean? Like I had to take a phone call, and instead of ignoring the phone call, I was like, yeah, I can pause this right now, whatever. Right? But it is that kind of movie where it's like, if I was in a room with a bunch of people, you just like be hanging out, and like it can be on, and there's enough time in between funny things that happen that, you know, you could carry on an entire conversation and still enjoy the movie in a way.
You're always putting together, add this to your list of films of just have it on.
Yep. Just have it on at a party that I'll never throw.
Yeah. Someday.
Maybe, I'll tell you what I should do is I should get a bunch of mannequins and throw some of these parties, and then I don't have to invite anybody over because I'll already have all of my friends there with me.
Yeah, your tourist trap mannequin friends.
I mean, to sort of go off part of what you just said too, I love the music If this music didn't exist in this movie, it would be fucking unwatchable.
True. It was Italian composer Pino Donaggio, who has
good.
over 200 credits, and he's the film closest to this one in his chronology he was working on was Piranha by Joe Dante.
Nice. I mean, it has like a cool sort of almost like a Rosemary's Baby kind of feel, but like on steroids. It's cool. It's eerie. It's fun. It's in your face. It's like everything is super heightened.
Well, okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about. The eeriness, Rosemary's. Yeah. The Rosemary's Baby reference to exactly what I just did. Which is also a diegetic sound that comes in and is great. It's kind of interchangeable, diegetic, non-diegetic. That sound of like the female mannequins make, because at a certain point they're making them more on screen. But anyway, Tim. But there's also, in addition to that creepy music, do you remember the opening credits music?
It's hilarious. It's hilariously awful and perfect at the same time.
Right? That was just watching it again. That's when I was so sad you weren't there by my side for this, because that was the exact kind of music where I just picture you going like, what the fuck?
Right.
You know?
I just think I would give you like a quadruple take.
Yeah. It's like I try to describe it as Rugrats percussion, where it's like a lot of those instruments of percussion that are just kind of like where you're rubbing a wood thing against another wood thing, just those kind of ticky-tock noises.
Yeah. Oh man, it is great. I mean, it's so dumb, but like, it's like this composer did a really good job of being like, okay, what does Woody sound like? You know, like we're watching Woody the character with a floppy, dumb ghillie cap hat, or fisherman's hat, whatever you want to call it. And he's pushing along a tire down the road with his shirt open. And it's just, that's it. That is the music to that guy, right? Like,
absolutely.
There's no other music that goes with him. And so like, it's that kind of it's like on the nose, but for this movie, it's everything is perfectly on the nose. Like it makes the movie work. To me, at least.
Just to sort of get out of the way, more stuff that's like, well, I guess this is everything we're listing, but more of an overall thing of something that normally be a critique, but works for this. I kept thinking of you. You like to bring up the idea of double mumbo jumbo when you have two things crammed in to something that should just be one thing.
Yes.
So a producer actually did insist this movie, it didn't have any of the telekinetic elements to it, but then one of the producers just insisted all that was put in. So,
oh my God.
So that felt like where it's normally, if this was trying to aspire to something bigger, where you have this tourist trap with killer mannequins, and then in addition to that, the person in charge of it all has telekinetic powers. And was it that it is kind of borderline double mumbo jumbo, if not entirely?
Borderline.
well, no, here's the thing. It's not only is this the kind of movie where the more mumbo jumbo you throw in it, just the better it's going to be.
Yes.
Like, give us as much mumbo jumbo as possible. Demon wind it, you know?
Yeah.
But there was something that actually kind of weirdly worked as far as like the answer to why are the mannequins moving or alive, that it would be someone with telekinetic powers is kind of just a fun way to explain, oh yeah, that is how you literally could bring life into these things. So I don't know. It's kind of a fun idea at the same time. That's at the same time I caught myself thinking, okay, I think there is a way where if your starting point is the sort of a story of a person with telekinetic powers, it sort of makes sense, and you can organically build on that to be like he builds all these people to not be alone and to control.
We can circle back to that.
Okay.
I have nothing positive to say about it.
About the telekinetic
well,
powers?
actually, yes. Well, sure. Okay. As a standalone thing, like those moments are amazing. Like watching mannequins are fucking freaky. Like, obviously, we all know that. But like watching them move on their own and like just doing weird ass shit. And then topping it off with this weird mouth mechanism where they just like drop open, and there's always like a clicking sound when they drop open. That shit is super disturbing. And like
when they drop open
their mouths, like their mouth, the lower part of their jaw, like they'll lean forward and then it just goes click open, like in this super unnatural, like gross, weird way. Yeah. I love that. Like that, just that gag or that sort of element is so creepy and just weirdly upsetting. And so like from a design point of view, having there be this supernatural element and allowing for things to fly around the room, and it's a great element to have, period. We could get into the nitty gritty of like the whatever logic or lack thereof in what didn't work, but like just on its face, that shit rules for me.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, a fucking Native American, like the most sort of cliched, like racist, horrible stereotype Native American, like animatronic mannequin throws like a tomahawk into the back of Becky's head. Like, like that is amazing shit. It's just so good. And so like, I mean, I think you can argue the merits of the supernatural bit, but like the even just take the animatronic aspect of it. That's fucking super scary and unnerving as you know, by itself. So I'm into all of that. Mannequin me up. I love it.
Just to stay on mannequins, I really loved having the sort of the intro where he shows them the kind of put a quarter in show of the mannequins doing their thing. Very Disneyland-esque. And then we do get the payoff where that's sort of where the final fracas happens. Yeah. And it's fun where it's like she's having to literally escape from being shot at by live bullets from these mannequin animatronics.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Speaking of live bullets, the moment the big reveal of like Mr. Slauson being the killer, when he they do a lot of kind of really fun little gags to make the casual viewer, I guess they're attempts to sort of misdirect that Slauson can't be the killer. So like he hands Molly the shotgun. This is sort of 2/3 of the way in, right? And he hands it to her and he's like, I'm going to go check out what's going on in there or whatever. And he goes in and she's like, I've never shot a gun. And he's like, you just point and pull the trigger. And she's standing there with the shotgun. He goes in and then of course Mannequin Man comes out, right? And she shoots him. And I was like, wow, fucking Molly. Yeah. Like, you got him. Good job. Pretty solid. And then his fucking reaction when she shoots him twice and he gets up and he says something like, bang, bang, you're dead. Bang, bang, you're dead. And she's like, but I shot you. And he's like, with blanks. It's just such a dumb gag. And of course, he wouldn't give her a loaded gun. But that's actually pretty nuanced shit in this movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Slauson's really playing a deep game here.
Slauson, okay, and yes, to transition, that was, I think, the best part about this movie is Slauson and Chuck Connors as Mr. Slauson. Of just that kind of character actor, or actor, whatever, that type, like, playing just, like, nutso crazy.
Yeah.
Just completely crazy. Like that specifically, that scene you described, I love it when where we clearly know this guy is the crazy bad guy, but then put up against immediately the scene where he's still like, oh, now let me tell you, everything will be okay. Or like when he's like, who did this to, did an animal get to you?
Well, they go even one step further, which really cracked me up. They have a scene where nobody else is around. It's just him. And he's playing it out like he doesn't know what's going on. He goes into the house by himself to find Eileen, to quote unquote find Eileen. He opens the door and she's been mannequined and strangled or whatever. And he's like, "Aw, damn." Like, You did that, dude. That's what makes me go, oh, he's split personality, he's sort of like whatever. Which, if they had played it out, I can get behind that. But it's just so funny to fuck with the audience in that way. Because it's like, I don't know, it's cheap. It's super cheap, right? Like, if you wanted to make a much more, like, deeply layered movie, you can do that scene where he's playing it up that he doesn't know what's going on, but you better fucking give a reason for him to play it up. I know I'm criticizing now, but I like that scene's in there because the movie's so off the rails anyway. Just who gives a shit? Fuck with the audience.
You don't even have to take that moment at face value, though. You're like, oh, this is just the kind of crazy he is, where he is just having fun.
Like, I'd like to see that kind of even more, in a way.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him have that sort of conflicted, like, what the fuck's going on internally. I guess you kind of get it a little bit, but...
Well, it's the thing, I don't know, I think whenever he is in the mode of whatever character he's playing, he's, fully doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's committed. It's so funny in retrospect at the seeing this movie the second time where he has a line at the beginning of the movie after knowing the whole movie is just about how this guy is just crazy and entertaining himself. He says at the beginning at that waterhole scene, when you get to be my age, you get to figure in what life is all about.
Yeah.
Like, as if, what his life has taught him, his age-old wisdom of just, it's all about having fun in this extremely idiosyncratic, murderous way.
Yeah, yeah.
And using his telekinetic powers, which he says, I shouldn't have to hide my power. It feels good.
Oh my God. That's right. What does he say? I sent this to you. What the fuck does he say?
Why don't you like me?
Oh my God. Why don't
that,
you
Tim,
like
so
me?
That was my favorite. Yeah, you can guess that. Imagine you watching it with me. That was my favorite thing in this film was anytime he was in that like mode and voice talking to himself and just knowing that it was this guy Chuck Connors like putting on these characters and voices and just like the line that we just said, why don't you like me, and stuff like that. But then when he's just mumbling talking to himself going on and it's just so obvious and stupid, but it's so good because it's him doing it, and you just hear him going like, what's all this? Just, very close perspective to the mic talking. Oh my, Kim, it just cracked me up every single time. It tickled me so hard.
Oh man, yeah, I was into it too.
Plus, like some of the outfits he would pair with that voice, where it's like a weird Phantom of the Opera greaser guy mask, and then he puts on like a tailcoat tuxedo and a top hat, and like sort of shimmies his way into the basement doing a spin. Like, we're gonna have a party.
Oh my God, like it is just shitty schlock, but it's so fun.
Because, you have that actor telling him, okay, like whatever the direction was, whatever the script was, that is like he's imitating a voice. And then to have this is Chuck Connors' take on like doing a crazy killer voice. It's just endlessly amusing.
I could actually see this being a really funny play.
Yeah, it would actually.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's a lot of just sort of fun to it. You obviously can't get bogged down in any logic shit because it is incomprehensible. There is no logic. I mean, there's the threads of the wife and the brother, and
because it's
it, really, right? That's kind of it.
Yeah. And because it's his backstory, it's all fun, though. Just any little detail as to who the heck this guy is and what contributed to his craziness. It's just fun.
I like the really like heartfelt scene that he has where he's like talking about his wife.
Yeah.
It's
right. Yeah, he had a few big monologues in there, actually.
It's nice and like it seems almost out of place, but it's smart. Like it's an effective tool to get us kind of on board with him, even though there is zero reason to believe he's not the killer.
Right.
Like there's had he not turned out to be the killer, I would have been fucking furious.
Oh, right. That would have been the twist in itself. That would have been so lame.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's not horrible. It's just, it's not good.
How about some individual, like, moments or kills? I mean, as far as crazy Slousen and stuff, there's the big dinner scene with him and the other mannequin offering him crackers, or what was that? Do you remember that scene?
No, what?
It was just like within like the last half hour where it's like he sits down with the mannequin and he's like, "Want some crackers?"
Oh, yeah, I think it's the Eileen mannequin. She's got the shawl on and the scarf, the dark hair. Yeah, there's just shit like that where I'm like, what the fuck are we doing?
I loved when when Becky, played by Tanya Roberts, gets captured, and it's like the mannequins. There's the shot of like all the mannequins like appearing over her, and they're all making the noise.
That's my favorite. The Becky sort of like trajectory is my favorite stuff. I know Molly's a little bit more of, because she's the final girl of it and all, but like the Becky stuff is so good that I don't know, like that. I love attics, creepy basements, but creepy attics are great, and shit coming out of the darkness in a creepy attic is like one of my favorite things. And so she does a lot. There's a lot of her kind of half-assedly flinging herself around. You know what I mean? And the mannequins are kind of multiplying and coming out after and falling on her. It's fucking great.
And then of course the scene where he's live in front of them putting the wax on one of them that's tied down.
Yeah, the plaster.
He's like narrating the whole thing. It's like terrifying though, just because it's so visceral of like, getting my face covered with this stuff. I've always thought, just being able to breathe is an important thing, and I've always had a bit of a claustrophobia thing around that. And I've always thought, like, if anybody ever needed to take one of those plaster cast molds of my face, because I don't breathe through my nose very well. I've had such bad allergies in my life that my sinuses are always just totally inflamed. So I kind of don't have clear passageways through my nose. And the idea of like having straws coming out of your nose and that's the only way you can breathe, you can't open your mouth to breathe with the plaster on it, is fucking terrifying. So then obviously taking it one step further where it's like, no, you just can't breathe at all. Like you just aren't, like your face is plastered up, is no
really
straws.
Horrifying to me. So
yeah.
I viscerally really like got my heart rate up. It was a good one.
I just forgot to mention the detail at the big mannequin show at the end. I loved how after it's all over and she dies, the one mannequin like tips his little top hat he's wearing just as like a final. If you remember, that was funny.
Wait, one of the mannequins wait.
It's like the final motion. He takes his little bullet.
Molly kills Slauson, there's a little hat tip?
No, after they kill, is it Becky then?
Oh my God. Yes. I remember exactly what you're talking about. Yes, yeah. in the big showroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that shit is great. It does, like, the tongue-in-cheek stuff in this is really good. Like, I almost wanted it to sort of lean more into that.
I loved when the boyfriend reappears, and we already know he's been mannequined, but it's like they just have the actor just full on playing him, but then they do the fun stuff of like, no, his arm and his head both get twisted off to show.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I didn't really know he was mannequined. You know what I mean? Like that, him walking up to him and taking his arm off was shocking to me. I was like, whoa! And then twisting his head off. Oh, dude. Fucking brought me back to like my younger days just ripping apart G.I. Joes, like the OG G.I. Joes, the like 12 inchers. Man.
Those ones where you'd like rotate their torso and it'd spin a bunch backwards because they had a little rubber band inside.
Well, those are the 4 inchers, but yes, those two. Dude, yeah, I mean, all that shit, it just is it's a fun gag. There are a couple scenes where you're seeing mostly just the standard mannequin type faces, and then suddenly they add super grotesque ones.
Yeah.
Like weird troll faces, and there's mixed in there, like just regular old people are mixed in there. And then like the dead people, like zombie, like human dead people start to show up in the very end, when Molly is sort of losing her shit. And like all of that is just, it's completely off the fucking chain at that point.
Yeah, there's that one like dummy face that's like a milty faced woman, super exaggerated, just like more like a creature.
Yes.
That one was
I love
creepy.
all that shit. I mean, it just goes fucking ballistic, like into who the fuck cares at that point. It's
that was great. The final
weird.
where Mr. Slauson finally gets it, where he gets the axe in the back by her, and he's like dancing with the dead wife, and all the other mannequins are encroaching on them.
Well, it made me, I mean, I like all that because it kind of then makes you think like, who are we watching this? Like, whose brain are we watching this through? Because I started to think, Molly is the sort of odd person out in this movie, right? Like Becky and Jerry are together. Eileen and Woody are together. Molly's this sort of fifth wheel character. She takes a little shine to Slauson right at the beginning, even though it's super creepy and weird. There's that weird kind of chemistry between them. And it just made me think, from a certain point of view, you could just say that Molly is an insane person. And all of this is in her head. Uh-huh. And that's sort of the culmination, like that somewhere along the line, her brain just broke, and this whole thing is just a imaginary made up thing that she's experiencing, and she's just going further and further into insanity, because that last scene is completely out of control. Like, I don't mean the last scene of her. I mean when she kills him. I mean, her driving off with 4 mannequins is also out of control. Like, she's obviously lost her fucking mind.
Right. That was the last big thing I had that worked for me. We already mentioned it in the summary, but just that last shot, so classic. She's continuing their road trip in the car with the ball. And it isn't like she's crying and she's just, taking them with her in case she can bring them back somehow. It is like, I've gone crazy. I'm crazed.
Yeah. She's just out for a nice Sunday drive.
Yeah.
With her pals.
After her stop at the tourist trap.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it's like there's a lot of the little individual goods, and it takes a long time to get through it.
Well,
what was the run time? Oh, it's only 90 minutes. Jesus. Man, it feels
took a lot to get
longer.
through it. It feels longer. All these things, Tim, are sounding like you're ready to talk about what did not work.
Yeah, is there anything else that I need to tell you that worked? Ooh. Well, just just to get it off my chest. Tanya Roberts is very attractive.
That worked for me too. Yep.
Very attractive. And it was really nice to watch a movie with her in it.
Tourist Trap, 1979.
There you go.
Featuring Tanya Roberts.
Yep.
There we go. If you needed more reason to watch it. Well, here's some reason to maybe not rush into it. It sounds like you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right. What did not work?
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
I mean, yeah, we've already said it, but for me, it really was just those sort of not too specific things of just it kind of took a while to get to the fun stuff sometimes. this threw me off with some of the music cues, like that whole scene with him at the pool at the beginning. It's like it was supposed to be uncomfortable, clearly.
Yeah.
Where it's like he walks up to but at the same time, there's like a music cue that told you, oh no, it was supposed to be pleasant, or we're supposed to feel for him a little bit too. That just felt weird.
Sure. Yeah, I get you.
I don't know, just something, and it's weird too, because like there's. Of course, I already explained it how I love it for all its weirdness and its quote unquote badness, but at the same time, like there's some genuinely like creepy things if you're just reading it as a story or look at it as face value, or are able to watch this as like an actual quote unquote movie, like where you're really invested into the characters and plight, where like it could have been fun if it had actually worked in that sense too. So
yeah,
just to say that.
A lot of it to me feels like incomplete ideas. And that's always a problem. It's like they got to a certain point in the process of sort of fleshing out what they want, and they stopped halfway.
Yeah.
Like there's a huge problem for me in a lack of sort of who are we on board with, right? Like, you never really see this movie through anybody specifically, and nobody really makes decisions that make any sense. There's all sorts of just, it's not even just like the fun of, I'll be right back. Don't go in there. Why are you doing it? It's actually too far into just dumb. Like they're acting dumb in not a fun way. Like, right. Hey, please don't go to that house. People live there or whatever. My brother lives there. Just stay here. And the girl is like, fuck that, I'm going. And it's like, dude, you haven't even been there for 5 minutes. You can like, what's the rush? Like, show us that they've been waiting for a long time and you've gotten to the point where you're gonna now go, this is fucking bullshit. I'm going down there and calling somebody. She goes right away. He like closes the door and she's like, let's go to the house. It's like, dude, chill out.
Yeah.
And then she goes down the house and is hearing voices and shit. And she's just snooping around. That you're just asking for it then.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's this really fine line for me where it's like, you gotta have character logic, and you if you're gonna have characters do things that are illogical, you have to have a reason. And this just totally, it's like, they just don't give a fuck. They're just like, just get on with it. But having said that, they get on with things that lead nowhere a lot of the time, right? Like, how many times did they go back and forth between the house and the actual shop?
Right, out that same path with the lights on it, and you're just like, ugh, kill them already.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of that where it's just sort of like, it seems like they're piecing it together as they go. Like, what? To me, it's all just why. Like, there's just a series of like, why did you do it that way? Like, why does, when Slauson captures Becky, he brings her down into the basement, right? And we see that this other girl is on the table tied down. We have no idea who she is, right? Becky doesn't acknowledge that she's there at all. I guess Becky's kind of passed out or whatever. And then in that shot, there's like a tarp under the stairs. And then Slauson pulls the tarp down and it's Jerry and he's tied up. It's like, what? Why did he have a tarp on him? Like, what? Yeah. What purpose does that serve for the story or for the audience to like move along or to be surprised? And also, that's your best shot? Like, camera in the corner? Like, why aren't we like getting a little bit inside the what's going on and being like be inside Becky's mind, see the woman on the table, and then get grabbed from behind and realize that it's Jerry, and maybe Jerry has a whatever. There's a million opportunities just in that like simple basement scene for fucking fun, scares, point of view, creepiness, all that shit, and they just set a camera in the corner and like, let's play it out.
Yeah, it did feel like
it just feels
was
half-assed.
Well, I mean, yeah, half-assed in a way. Like, you could see where, like, you can get that influence from where there's shots like that in Texas Chainsaw, you know, where it's just kind of puts a kind of horrifying objective thing, like when she's captured, put in the bag by, you know, at the midway point, and we just kind of have that objective. But, you know, there's a place and a time. I just want to say that way of shooting it isn't inherently bad. But no, I hear you. Like,
you're right. It's
that
definitely not inherently bad. But if it doesn't have, if it's not serving the scene, then it's not good either. It just is. It's just arbitrary. Here, put the camera there, and let's go. That's not enough for me. Right? Like, if you're being really critical and like wanting to like push people to make something good, it's not enough. Like, try harder. Think just a little bit more. Now, look, we don't know. There could be all sorts of constraints and reasons that's the take we got. That's fine. I'm totally willing to give that, you know, conceit. But I don't know. It's just boring. That type of stuff leads to, it's not just one time, right? Like, you see it throughout the movie, and there are things where you just kind of are like, okay. And that kills any kind of fun and momentum that they build at certain points that you just go, all right, well, whatever, I'm kind of bored now. So that, to me, that's the wash of the whole movie that I get kind of bored with. It's like, I hate to be gratuitous about it, but like, even having the skinny dipping scene, it's like, why even have a skinny dipping scene if you aren't gonna have the sort of like the quote unquote titulation of seeing at least the fact that they're skinny dip? It's like it's middling. It's like, you could do it in a way where you're not seeing any actual like TNA, but you're showing it from, like, do some Michael Myers POV type stuff where somebody is spying on them and there are leaves that are obstructing the view just enough so we don't actually see boobs if you don't want to have that in there. But do something with it. Don't just have it be lame.
As a way, to maybe translate, just don't have it be lame. What I take that to mean is like, give us some perspective, give us some like filmmaking perspective on it, versus while a perspective can be a sort of stand back, be objective point of view, that wasn't being used explicitly as a tool here. Exactly. It was just sort of like getting coverage, quote unquote, just plain and simple, which, you know, doesn't have that intent behind it.
Well, and you know, I think it's sort of, it shows in the details are being overlooked in a lot of ways. And it's weird because there are movies and filmmakers where that is fine. Yeah. You know, and it doesn't matter. But like,
that's why it's nice to try to put it as have a perspective.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. When it's all just this middling shit. The ideas are kind of middling. They're not really fully formed. A lot of there's no perspective. That's all kind of middling. You know, continuity, you don't really give a shit in a movie like this. But even like when the moment that the bad guy gets axed, he gets axed from behind, and then the next shot is the axe handle in front of him, like he got axed from in front. And it's just like, dude, what? You can't match that? Like, you can't be bothered to match where the axe went in? That's nuts.
I'm not going to make excuses for them.
That's lazy. I'm sorry. That's fucking lazy. Now, if you discover...
Hey, whatever. I didn't notice it both times I just watched it, so...
But I'm saying, if you discover that the prosthetic that you are attaching only works, you know, from the front, reshoot her hitting him with it. Yeah. That's an easy fix. It's just fucking here. Whatever.
Tim was the only one who noticed, so.
And I get it, man. Like, I've shot shit. The movie I'm working on now, there's a couple moments where I'm like, ugh, the only way to make this edit feel right is to cheat the continuity a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and like, so be it. But when there are things that are really, really egregious, you gotta just fucking fix it or cut it. For me.
Well, I feel like they didn't have a lot of options with what they were working with at this point.
They had a sweet Jeep. Like, how'd they get that thing?
So because kind of things that didn't work is what worked for me in this, I don't really have anything else, do you?
No, not really. Yeah, I mean, you know what we forgot to mention?
And what did work?
Well, it's both for me.
Okay.
So, but we should have mentioned it in what did work, because it, it does work, but it also fucking doesn't work. Jerry, he, without hesitation, jumps out of a second-story window.
Wait, no, it's not a second-story window. It's just out onto onto the balcony.
He doesn't know there's a balcony there?
I mean, that was great. I only put that in what worked. It was one of those incredible moments. I sent you the GIF earlier.
It is in and of itself, but like in the broader sense, it's stuff like that just makes me go, yeah, but no. I love it, but come on. Yeah,
but you got to pick one or the other for this one, you know?
I don't know. Like, I think it just speaks to the broader sort of filmmaking problem that I have of, like, if you're going to have a character do that, at least give us a moment where he's like, fuck, this is my only option.
Yeah, but no, not this movie, because that was one of the best indelible moments of it, where he just, like, without pause, jumps out the window. Like, again, like, maybe I see what you're saying, what didn't work, but that is not this movie.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Okay. Let's move on to things of note.
Yeah.
All right. Things of note.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
So I did all my note digging. I watched for the second time through the Joe Bob narrated not inner titles. You know, comes in for quote unquote commercial breaks. Lays down his horror knowledge. So it was fun learning about this film a bit. The director David Schmoeller. Well, Chuck Connors, you know, who's famous for
The Rifleman.
The Rifleman, kind of like what Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was,
very
more
much
or less.
So, yeah.
That kind of TV show. So Chuck Connors was third in their choices. I think Jack Palin's was their first choice.
Yeah.
But even their third choice, getting Chuck Connors, the director David Schmoeller, was very surprised and elated Chuck Connors took it. And he found out later that was because Chuck Connors kind of like was thinking that maybe he could be, as he put it, the Boris Karloff of the 80s.
Wow.
Like he could kind of have a late stage career just pumping out these like low rent slashers or whatever.
What happened?
But sadly, that did not end up happening.
Damn it!
Right?
Poor
I know,
Chuck.
because he's been great.
You know what I think is cool about Chuck? He's such an interesting dude, right? Like, he's just one of these dudes from a weird era. Well, weird to us, I think, in a way. Like, we're just so removed from it. Like, the world that he came up in, I mean, he's essentially, let's see, he's like 5 years younger than my grandfather was. So he's he reminds me a little bit of my mom's dad, who passed away, I don't know when that was, 6 months ago or something. Or no, a year and 6 months ago. But like totally cut from the same cloth, totally athletes, you know, of that era. I don't know if Chuck served in the military at all, but like has that kind of feel. And it's
he was a literal athlete, didn't you know? He played Major League Baseball
and basketball.
and basketball.
That's crazy.
So how he made the transition was from when he was playing baseball, he had the reputation and he'd kind of piss off all the other people on his own team and the other team where he'd like clown around and ham stuff off, where apparently after hitting a home run or whatever, he'd run backwards across the bases. Like he did that once. And then apparently after he did that, a pitcher like pitched it ball right at his head and knocked him down.
Yeah, that's the deal.
And then I think it was, an agent, a scout or something after that, after sort of saw him, hamming it up, doing that kind of thing, got him to cast him and to play a bit part in something. And then like once he saw, oh, wow, I made that easy $500 paycheck doing this, I'm going to switch to acting.
Nice.
So, and then a bit more on the rifleman that I thought was funny that Joe Bob pointed out was every episode ended with his son saying, "Dad, you won," after this, a show where he's just having to kill everybody with a rifle. And then he says at the end of every episode, "No, son, nobody wins with violence."
Wow.
And then I have some kind of monologue on that, and then would be back next week to kill another handful of people.
Well, a handful of bad people.
Right.
So it's justified.
No, Tim, nobody wins with violence.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, so says he.
And then a bit on the director, David Schmoeller. He was a literal student of the filmmakers Alejandro Jodorowsky and Buñuel.
Wow.
Which is like, okay, when you watch Tourist Trap, you couldn't really think of films cut from a further cloth.
No, yeah. Yeah, I don't even know what to think of that.
Right. And then he went on to make, he went on and did another string of kind of low rent horror films, but including his most famous by name, aside from Tourist Trap, was Puppet Master.
Ooh.
He made Puppet Master.
Nice.
And then now he teaches film in Las Vegas at UNLV.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
You can find him these days. But yeah, no, you mentioned the music and the composer. I love that I mentioned how he got this composer, Pino Donaggio. I said he was, at the time, working on Piranha with Joe Dante, and they needed a translator. And so Schmoeller spoke Spanish, which Donaggio also spoke Spanish. So he got a translating job, on Piranha, helping him out. And because he got to be friends with him on that film, that's how he was able to talk him into doing this like lower rent film that was, kind of below his reputation. But he got like a fifth of the film's budget, apparently, I think went to the composer to get him.
Yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes.
It was great how he talked him into it.
The other thing, crew-wise, that I think is interesting is it's the same production designer as Texas Chainsaw.
Oh, cool!
A guy named Robert A. Burns.
Okay.
He worked on Texas Chainsaw. He worked on The Hills Have Eyes. He was sort of instrumental in figuring out how to get those poltergeist type stuff in this movie working. All of the stuff flying around.
Okay.
So pretty cool.
This, Tim, may be more of an interesting thing of note for just people who live in Hollywood like you and me. But the filming location was at an abandoned house that was about to be demolished at 5255 Hollywood Boulevard.
What?
They were able to save money, like $30,000, it says, by on construction and soundstage fees just by shooting at this abandoned location. But 5255 Hollywood Boulevard is
that's down the street from me, isn't it?
It's right between us. It's
okay.
It's on Harvard and Hollywood Boulevard. It's right where the right side of that Thai plaza is, like Crispy Pork Gang. It's right at the it's Crispy Pork Gang's address.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Wild.
So this is fun. Tourist Trap was filmed kind of equidistant, super close between the few miles Tim and I live apart from each other.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Be fun to see some photos to see what the building was.
It blows I love that kind of stuff. I love pictures, comparing pictures from the past of an area to what it looks like today. Any book that is a then and now photo book or whatever is I can't wait, what am I trying to say? I can't not look at it. I have to look at it. I have to.
And yeah, So many and when you know a town specifically, it's so cool to see.
It's the best.
It's kind of like Back to the Future 3 always felt like the movie to me, like seeing Hill Valley back in the day.
Yeah.
Always satisfied that.
I was in an Enterprise commercial once. And the first day, we did 2 days, was shot 1 block on the Universal set, 1 block away from the Hill Valley town square with like the clock tower and everything. And all of my downtime, that's where like all of the sort of holding, everybody just hung out over there. That's where we had lunch under tents like in the square. It was crazy. I'd never actually, I'd been through it, I've driven past it like when I've worked on stuff, but I never like got out and walked around it until I was there for that commercial. It was awesome.
Fun.
Yep.
Great. Any other things of note?
Oh, I don't know. How are you feeling?
That's all I've got. I'm ready to move on from Tourist Trap.
All right. Well, let's move on.
Let's move on to recommendations.
All right.
What do we want to recommend?
I'm worried that I've already recommended this, so I got to check.
All right. Well, I will go into what I can enthusiastically and certainly recommend. It's been hard for me recently, Tim. I haven't seen or read too much that I've been super excited about. But oh man, Tim, I watched a movie that had been on my watch list for a while last night. It's called The Beach Bum. It's Harmony Korine's latest movie. I don't know if you've seen his other films. Spring Breakers was his last one. Gummo is kind of a famous first one that put him on the scene, if you remember Gummo. God, Tim, you got to watch Harmony Korine movies, okay?
Okay, stop yelling at me.
Tim, and then you got to watch his David Letterman interviews, okay? He's a weirdo. You'll love it.
Okay.
But Tim, this movie, The Beach Bum, with Matthew McConaughey as the titled Beach Bum.
Yeah.
The titular Beach Bum. Oh my God, Tim, it might be like one of my favorite movies of the decade.
Wow.
Like if I'm putting together my top of the decade list one of these days.
Wow.
Like I was just so taken with it. Like from the first 5 seconds when you hear his Matthew McConaughey's kind of to himself lines underneath the title, I just like was laughing and smiling already. It's just, it has the kind of plotting that I just love where it's not, it's more atypical. Mm-hmm. It's not like a typical movie plotting, which I love is for me, just lets me really soak into the world when it kind of has its own just kind of inner logic flow. But plenty of stuff does happen. And just, I don't know, the kind of ethos beneath it all that was all about. Guys, as they say, don't sleep on Beach Bum.
I've certainly seen like the poster.
You got to watch Spring Breakers, Tim, and then watch The Beach Bum.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's not like I don't have time on my hands.
Great.
So I can't find that I've recommended this before, so I'm assuming I haven't. But I finally got around to True Detective Season 3, which has Mahershala Ali as the lead, who is he's ridiculous. He's a ridiculously good actor. But it also has Stephen Dorff, who I don't think we generally think of as a great talent. He is so good in this show. So
wait, wasn't he in some movie that we watched?
Stephen Dorff?
Yeah.
Oh God, probably. I mean, he's the bad guy in the first Blade movie, which is kind of ironic because Mahershala Ali is now going to be Blade in the upcoming Marvel stuff, and he's in a show with Stephen Dorff. There's what do you call that? Synchronicities, like in Hellier.
Okay. Yes. Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? No. I'm thinking of he was the little kid in The Gate, which is one of my favorite kind of like off-cuff horror films or kind of like cult horror movies.
Oh my God.
Which even though I know it, I would love to cover it on the show if people want to hear it.
That's funny.
I've recommended The Gate. Yeah.
Yeah. God, The Gate is awful. I know you love it.
Oh, it's so good, Tim.
It's rough. It's rough.
It's like a Goosebumps book.
Exactly.
Is how I pitched it.
Yeah. True Detective Season 3. I didn't get into Season 2. I really liked Season 1. But 3 is solid.
I haven't seen any of it.
Cool. Well, maybe you should get into it, dude.
All right. Cool. Maybe, honestly, I probably won't soon, but maybe I will someday.
That's fair. You live your life,
all right.
Ryan.
I am, and I will continue to.
Yeah.
And I will continue to do so next by asking if you, Tim, could pull from our hat one of our remaining, I believe, 2 films we have in there.
All right, here we go. Oh, this might be actually very difficult to find. It's called The Innocents, but it's the 1961 version. And I remember before we even did this podcast, I tried to find it because it was on a couple lists as being really scary. And I think it's got Deborah Winger or something like that. That might be wrong. But I couldn't find it anywhere. Like, I couldn't even find buying it anywhere, like online. So we might have to do some searching. Okay.
It's on looks like it has something written. It's on Criterion Collection.
Oh, you have that, don't you?
No. Meaning sorry, that doesn't mean it's necessarily on Criterion Channel.
Oh, right.
But hopefully, maybe.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out. If we can't, if we can't track it down, there's only one other thing in here. Should I tell you what it is? The last one?
I don't know. Should we? I feel like we got to always read it week by week. Let's just assume the best.
Well, that's fun.
Okay. Yeah, we got to track it down somehow. I know our LA video stores are all closed down right now. I think maybe Cinephile is doing like a delivery one.
I think you're right.
But the Videotech, which I like to go to, which for us in Pasadena, I think they're closed.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's for our time off air here. Where there's a
Let's just keep talking about it.
Where there's a mission, we'll figure it out. In the meantime, you can find us at dismemberinghorror.com.
You can. You should. You will.
Yep.
Or else. You can hang out with us on Instagram and Twitter. I'm terrible at Twitter. But
that's okay,
we're there. I'm trying. I posted. Oh, you know what? I posted this the other day because it was a sad day. But we should acknowledge that the death of a wonderful horror director just occurred. Do you remember who it is? Stuart Gordon.
Right. We had just reviewed From Beyond,
yeah, which was his. He was also on Reanimator. He teamed up with all those guys. He's awesome.
Castle Freak.
Yeah, I think he was quite old. He was like 92, I think. So
definitely
lived a nice, long, great life. Put some good stuff out in the world. So yeah, bummer, but he ruled.
And also, today passed away the composer Penderecki, who did whose music was used for The Shining.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, that kind of very discordant.
Yeah, amazing stuff.
Composer. He passed away today.
Well, we live in a weird time. People are dying.
I know. I mean, I wanted to. God, this was on my mind so much when this was for being recording in quarantine, Tim. Mm-hmm. But like, since we first talked about having to record in quarantine, I'm already so much in the mode of just feeling this is just a new normal,
Yeah. Yeah. We've been in it for 2 weeks or so now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Just following it day by day.
My apartment's getting cleaner by the minute. I'll tell you that much.
Good. That's good. I'm glad you've been able to put their time to good use. Yeah. I think that's really important. Have a good space. Take care of it well.
Yep. Agreed. Well, I hope everybody out there is doing well and staying safe and, stay home for now. And hopefully we'll get through it. We'll get through it together. Even though we're apart.
Me, pound to the beat of a different drum. Anyways, exactly. Everything Tim just said, I concur. And, well, as always, and in closing, Thank you so much for listening.
And we will see you next time.
Goodbye.